everybody, and welcome to Bucs Bounty. Michael McKenry, Stephen Brault, and today we are joined by incredibly special, the new Pirates pitching coach, Bill Murphy. To the show, Bill, thanks for joining us here on Bucs Bounty. Let's start with something really quick and simple and easy. How was your holiday season, man? We're on the second half of it now. This is the baseball time, right? We all start pushing towards the baseball season. How have you been? How is this transition getting ready to go out to Pittsburgh working out for you?
First off, incredibly thankful to be on the show. Thanks for having me. It has been very exciting. The holiday season was a blast. We have a 19-month-old, so just showing him what Christmas is like, going through all that was really cool. And then the preparation leading up to the season, meeting our new pitchers that we have, and then the pitchers that have been in the organization that I'm still trying to get to know. So it's been a ton of fun, very busy, but really good stuff.
So, Bill, you take the job late fall. Talk about that process of kind of making that transition. I mean, you're at a really cool organization. You've been there most of your career, and you've had a ton of success. You make this switch, I think, for baseball, people like me and Steven, we see why. I mean, what an exciting staff to be a part of. I feel like the team's going to make a huge jump forward as well this year. So it's a good time to make that transition. But what was that decision like? How does that process work for you so the fans understand it's not necessarily an easy decision ever?
No, it's not an easy decision, especially in that I was with the Astros for 10 years and came up through the system, saw those pitchers who started in the minor leagues develop into the major league level. I saw Hunter Brown on his first day as a Houston Astro. I saw Christian Javier, Framber Valdez come over from the DR and then pitch in the big leagues. So that was really cool. And the decision to leave, it was definitely tough, but the opportunity to be in Pittsburgh, to be a part of, like you just mentioned, a pitching staff that can be incredibly special. And then to be a part of a coaching staff led by Donnie, who is a special human being, was something that I just couldn't pass up.
Too cool.
I think that, I mean, obviously we've gotten to know Donnie at this point. He was my coach in 2020. He was my bench coach, and he's just an incredible guy. I think working underneath him is probably going to be very rewarding because he seems like he has a good feel of not only making sure that people are doing what needs to be done, but also because he's the kind of to get done himself, right? So there's that trust that I think is really huge among a coaching staff. But I was curious what you're looking forward to the most as taking over for the Pirates pitching coach. What really brought you in to wanting to be the new coach here in Pittsburgh?
Number one thing would be the opportunity to watch these guys compete on an everyday basis. Watching Paul Skenes, watching Mitch Keller, watching Dennis Santana. They are pitchers who have had some great success at the major league level, and being a part of that, but also watching guys who are trying to establish themselves. You look at Bubba Chandler, you look at Ashcraft. There are these guys who I have experienced in Houston rising up and really making a name for themselves at the major league level. So it's the mix of both worlds. You have these really established players, and then you have these young players. And that's what we had in Houston. So that was another draw that really kind of led me to being in Pittsburgh. It's rare that you have that opportunity where we have some amazing, incredible young talent. And then you add a Gregory Soto who has pitched at the major league level and has been really successful. That's rare to have.
Bill, you said the infamous word I love is compete, and explain the balance of competing and developing, because you are going to have some veteran arms. You talk about Soto, you talk about Skenes as a veteran now, Mitch Keller, but you also have these young puppies that are going to develop right in front of your eyes, but still have that ability to compete. Like you mentioned Ashcraft. It's one of our favorite guys to watch because this guy's a dog. And how do you balance that out? Because with today's technology, all the information you receive, you have to find a really good balance. I feel like you've probably already found this since you've been in the league for so long, but how do you do it with these young guys and the old guys with the balance of, hey, just go compete, or today, hey, let's compete, but we still need to develop a little bit?
And I think that's my job as a coach, is to allow them to understand, what do you do really well? Like, what are you going to go out and you're going to have and go compete with that? Understanding your strengths is incredibly important. And that gives you the confidence to go out there and say, look, I do this. I'm going to crush anybody with this. And then it's just also understanding, okay, how can I improve myself? What do I need to work on a daily basis? What are the things that I don't necessarily do well, but if I work on them, I can then make them a strength? And it's feeding into that, understanding that. And then when you go out there on the mound, you're competing. And then Paul competes against the pitcher who pitched the day before, and he tries to match that. And that's how you kind of get that team camaraderie.
I like it.
Yeah, I think this team has shown, especially this young staff, with Jared Jones and Paul Skenes and they're all these guys, they want to feed off of each other. And I think you bring up a really good point there. Is that something that you dealt with and learned in Houston over your 4 years as a pitching coach in Houston? The stats that have come out about all of those pitching staffs over those 4 years, you've had the lowest team ERA in that time. You won a World Series in 2022, and my personal favorite, a no hitter in Game 4 of the World Series in 2022, combined 4 pitchers. All of that success, is that something that has changed the way that you've coached over time coming from college, or is that kind of just always building and learning as you continue to grow as a coach yourself?
There was definitely this guy pitched well, I need to go out and pitch well. We are trying to compete for a division. We're trying to compete for a World Series championship. And if this guy throws up a 0 in the 7th inning, I want to do that in the 8th. Then I do it in the 8th. I want to do that in the 9th to give ourselves the chance to win the game. Now, you mentioned the no-hitter. I think that is what's so cool about baseball, is nobody expected Christian Javier to do what he did at Yankee Stadium. That was his first combined no-hitter that year, and then he does it in the World Series on the biggest stage.
Yeah.
And really, that got us back into the World Series at that time. And then we fed off that. We just kept going, and then we ended up beating a really good Philadelphia team. But that's that competition piece. Is like, sometimes all you really need is one guy to get it going, and then somebody looks at that and like, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. I can do that. And then before you know it, you have a really, really good pitching staff that is just absolutely taking off.
So something that you're having to do that's a little bit different is, you have the major league level, you're having to get to know these guys in the off season going into spring. How's that process been? I mean, they're talking about Lavello right now, flying around, doing all that stuff. I don't expect that from anybody. That's a little bit overwhelming at times. I'm sure he's not married, didn't have a family, but like, I don't think fans understand how much time you guys spend on the phone, how much time you guys spend FaceTiming, getting to know these guys. Explain a little bit of how that's been going. Some of the fun conversations maybe you've had that you're allowed to share, because I think it's really cool how you guys go about it.
Yeah, and the preparation for baseball doesn't just happen during spring training.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, as soon as I got the job, it was fly to Pittsburgh, get your computer, talk to the pitchers, and get going. And the success that we're going to have as a pitching staff started 2 months ago. And 100% right. I have to get to know these players. I need to get to understand how they accept information. And that's having conversations with the players, other coaches, the catchers, because our job is to deliver information that they can then take. And we talked about compete, right? Use it to then better their performance. So that has happened a ton. There's constant text messages, phone calls. I've seen some people live, and it's just starting that conversation. So once we get to spring training, it's something that we're already doing. We've already had these talks, and we're just making these small, minor adjustments.
Too cool.
What I think is interesting in listening to your interviews so far, since you've gotten this job in Pittsburgh and hearing you talk now, the words that you use when talking about coaching and connecting with players are help and watch. Those are the two main words that you use. And I think that's very telling as to what kind of coach you are. And I think that's an amazing thing. Can you kind of explain the idea of how much of a pitching coach's job is to get in there and tell guys what they need to do, and how much of a pitching coach's job is learning the person and then helping them find out what it is they need to do on their own?
Yeah. And the level of player that you're dealing with changes in terms of how you're going to go about it, right? So if you have this elite pitcher who has had success, let's say Paul, right? How am I going to help Paul? But then it comes down to, well, how am I going to help Bubba Chandler? How am I going to help Mason Montgomery try to establish themselves? So that is different. And you touch on the watching part. I need to watch what they're doing, how they're going when they're having a good day compared to how they're having a bad day, because the mentality of baseball is real, right? Like, you are using your mind, you have to be confident, and I need to be able to understand the cues that each pitcher are giving me in terms of receiving the information, because sometimes people don't want to hear anything. They're not feeling good. They're upset, and that's not the best time to deliver information. So part of that is just me understanding and getting reps with these guys so we can deliver information when they want to hear it and when it's actually going to hit. But I think a lot of coaching comes down to, what is the problem? What is the area you need to develop? And then how are we going to go about doing that? And it's explaining it in the simplest way possible that's actionable, and you can actually go out and figure out how to go about doing that. And with so many numbers and so many analytics in the game, you can get really easily confused. And it's all just about, okay, what do you really need to work on? Let's go do that.
It's very telling how thoughtful you are with all your answers right now. You pause, you think about what you're going to say. Is that the same approach you take with these guys? Because I think about watch, and a part of watching for me, you have two eyes, you have two ears. You listen. And a lot of times these guys, I was a catcher, I would ask questions and let them tell me exactly what's kind of going through their brain. And it seems like you probably do that magnificently because you're very slow to speak, you're very thoughtful. With all the information you just talked about, what do they actually need? How do you balance what they think they need to what they actually need, and then presenting that properly? Because that is the hardest thing right now to get guys to do. I work with a lot of guys in the off season. They go to Velo U, they go to Florida Baseball Ranch, they go to Tread, but they don't even know how to compete. It's like, who are you today? And how do you walk out there and compete? Because if you don't compete, you don't pitch. And I think maybe that's the knack I'm seeing and hearing that you have something special with, is being able to help guys understand how they compete on each and every day, but it's all about their trust. How do you garner that trust?
I think showing up as the same person every day, regardless of if you won a game or you lost a game, that is really important.
It's a good start right there.
It's 162 games. This game is tough, really tough. I've said it before. I was very fortunate to not be a good pitcher because I was able to start my coaching career very quickly. So I get that, and it's true. It's true.
Hey, that's your path. I love it. Yeah,
I know.
There you go.
I get it. Yeah. So being positive to your point, and asking people questions, and exactly what you're saying, like listening to what they're saying and following up on, if they say something, being consistent with it. If people want to improve on things, being consistent about it. Don't just bring it up one day and then 3 weeks later bring it up. It's like, whatever's important to us, whatever we agree we think is going to help us perform, like, let's just do that. We agree on it, and let's just consistently talk about that. And if we get beat on something one day and we knew that that was the right decision, it's like, so what? That's the game of baseball, right? But if you keep doing that over and over and over again, you're going to be successful. So I think it's just this calming voice. It's the confidence. And I brought up Donnie. Like, that's what Donnie brings, is just this very relaxed and very positive mindset of, okay, that didn't work today, but if we keep doing that, we're going to be in a really, really good spot.
He got him, and he's done it again.
Welcome to Unobstructed Views.
We're at BP. We're going to get an inside look.
Once you start loving each other, you start fighting for each other.
Welcome to Coach's Corner. And he'll admire it, so will we.
Is that too much to ask for?
Oh, baby.
I kind of want to hop back in time a little bit because I think it's really interesting the path that guys take to become, especially major league pitching coaches, because it's such a niche job where once you get up to the major league level, you are working with, let's say throughout a season, let's say 22 pitchers or whatever it is on average, 25 pitchers throughout a season. But I want to take that back to when you were in college. You coached at Georgetown and Brown University. I'm just curious, when you started there, college is usually more of I would say a cookie cutter approach to coaching. You're getting a lot of young guys who don't know yet how their game works the best. So you kind of got to coach them, I think, a little bit more physically. But then when you get to this part of Major League Baseball, it becomes more about these guys have developed what they need to be good. They have a good idea. And now it's about rounding those things out. What have you taken from coaching in the college game that you've brought to pro ball that's helped you work with, some of the best pitchers in the world at the major league level?
Yeah. You hit on a good point of like the college and the pro game. In the college game, you are dealing with players who, if you do a number of different things, they're probably going to get better. So you don't necessarily need to be as specific. And the programs that I was at, most of them didn't throw hard. So it was, okay, how are we going to get these guys to throw hard? We're going to get them in the gym. We're going to try to get them to gain weight, gain more strength, and then maybe we'll put them on a velo program. But at the major league level, everything is way more specific. You've tried out a number of different things, and it's ultimately like trying to like really find out like what else is there to gain. Like, what do you do really well? How do you throw the ball? How do you do different things? Like, how can we try to maximize that? Very rarely are you trying to recreate and do a number of different things. There's definitely that happens, but it's more so like, okay, what do I do really, really well? Like, how do I build around that? So I think that's the big difference between the pro game and the college game. But the one thing that was incredibly helpful for me, especially when I was at Brown, was very academic students, very smart, very bright. And they always challenged why I had them doing stuff. Because at that time, we were doing a number of different things that were considered new or innovative. And it was, okay, why am I doing this? And then I had to explain to them why and what I thought was going to be beneficial for them. And then like, how are we going to go about doing it? So you get that at the major league level too, in that you have these pitchers who are really, really good, and you come up with something, a piece of information. You can't just tell it to them. It's like, why am I doing that? Why would I do this? I've been good. And it just comes to the point of, you just got to understand like what's going on and be supported with the information that you're going to deliver with numbers or whatever it is, instead of just using your emotional thought of, well, we're going to get rid of that changeup because it got hit yesterday. Like, we're done with that. It's like, no, relax. We understand that this pitch is going to be really good. It has been really good. It just wasn't really good that day. That happens. It's okay. That's baseball.
I absolutely love that you said have a reason why. It's something I tell every kid and every dude I genuinely work with. Assume I'm wrong is my favorite thing to say to them. Like, go challenge every single narrative. That's how you grow the most, right? So I love that you said it about Brown, Georgetown. I played for Bethesda Big Train. Had to throw a shout out. Loved my time there. But I want to continue going backwards. Everybody has a coach that they looked at, and man, that dude really impacted my life. That's my first question. Who is that guy and why? And then two, do you think because of who you were and the blessing that got you out of the game a little bit sooner, that gave you an opportunity to kind of reinvent who you are and how you wanted to coach, maybe even yourself from all the learning? Because I always have felt this way, and me and Steve have talked about this a bunch. The best coaches are never the best players. And there's a reason for that, because when you are searching to be better and better and better, not saying that some of the best don't, but I'll never forget a conversation almost 14 years ago with Andrew McCutcheon. Hey, what's your approach to the plate? Well, I just try to see it over the middle and hit it. And I go, what? That's it? That's all you do?
Rude.
What? That's just rude for you to say to me. Like, give me more, right? It's because he was so good, right? And at times you just tip your cap and say, thank you, sir. I don't want another, and walk away. So I leave that to you in the sense of, like, did your journey give you that knack for coaching because you always wanted more? It seems like you're a guy that's always searching for more. And who is that coach that you look to? Maybe there's a mentor now. I know that's a loaded question. I love doing that to you guys because I think you can handle it.
So the two coaches that I had when I was younger, one high school coach, John Schmidt, and then in college, Glenn Gardner, who was the hitting coach at Rutgers at the time. And John Schmidt was my first mentor. I still talk to him to this day. And he coached me, but then he was also the first person to coach me while I was coaching. And he was the high school coach at the time, and I was on his staff, and he let me do a lot of things. He let me fail an incredible amount of time. And that was really helpful for me. Like, I actually was able to coach people and try to help them and learn, like, what worked, what didn't work. So that was great. And what I got from Glenn Gardner was he really cared about his players. He knew every single person's birthday, and he would call them on the phone. He would tell them happy birthday. For years and years after playing, he would do that. But he was just special in the fact that the connections he was able to build was unlike anybody else. Now, transitioning to, like, coaching, I was very lucky to be with the Houston Astros and learn under Doug White, who was the person who hired me when I was the A-ball pitching coach. He was the pitching coordinator. We had Pete Patilla, who was the farm director, amazing. Sig Mejdal, who's with Baltimore, was fantastic. Brent Strom, Josh Miller was a mentor of mine. Josh was the assistant pitching coordinator when I first got into the system, and I was lucky enough to work with him at the major league level. So I've been around a lot of really, really good baseball people. And that's just coaches. You can talk about front office, Matt Hogan, Adam Brody in Houston. So part of my growth, or most of my growth, is just because of the people that I've been around. Now, you asked about my playing career. I do think part of it was I was just trying to figure out how to be good, but more so, it's like I was curious about things. I wasn't the strongest person, so I was like, okay, how do I get stronger? I'm not throwing hard enough. Okay, how do I try to figure out to throw hard? And then you kind of try all these things on yourself, and you learn that maybe you can get better by trying these different things out. But when I was finishing playing, I didn't necessarily know I was going to start to coach. I just figured I'd try it out. And then all of a sudden it was like, man, this is a lot of fun. This is cool. You get to compete as a coach. You get to help players. You get to help them live out their dreams. It's like, let's keep this going. So I started coaching in summer ball, and then I went to Georgetown and Brown, and then I got this opportunity in Houston, and it's been so fun. It's something I never thought was ever going to happen, but I'm really appreciative of it. And more so, I'm appreciative of the people that I've been able to encounter along the way.
So this is a question I ask every coach that I get to talk to nowadays, because I think that the way that baseball is done now is obviously different than it was. For example, when Michael and I came up through the minor leagues, where analytics were not a thing yet, we didn't have those numbers presented to us, and so now everybody has those numbers. I'm curious with the way baseball is now when it comes to coaching. Either maybe we can do as two separate questions, either young players and then also major league players. Do you think that it's more important to become a very well-rounded player and to focus on working on the things that you don't do very well in the game and getting better overall? Or do you think it's more important to focus on what it is that makes you special, makes you unique, and focus your work on the one trait that really sets you apart? Obviously, you still work on the other stuff a little bit because you do need to be rounded to get to Major League Baseball. But do you think it's more of a specialized game? And do you think that players should try to specialize themselves to set them apart in today's game?
At the youth level, I would go towards trying out a number of different things. Infield, outfield, I would try to catch, I would try to pitch. Because, and we see it at the major league level all the time, there's people who've played the infield who then go and try to play the outfield, and that gives you more versatility. Or they can play third base, second base, shortstop. This guy can catch. Like, that adds extreme value. But also, too, it allows you to learn the game of baseball, and you're able to figure out, oh, like, that's interesting. I can use that in another different area. For instance, reading a book. If you read a book, you can read a book about business. You can then take that and apply that to the game of baseball, or you can apply that to your life. So the same thing applies to playing a number of different positions. If you do that, you then understand different cutoff techniques or where you should be. It then allows you possibly to create different things that other people aren't necessarily thinking about. So at the youth level, I would suggest playing a number of different positions. Don't just be satisfied with playing shortstop or second base. Try to catch balls in the outfield. Plus, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
I love that answer. And yes.
Yeah, I just think of it as, how rare is it to have somebody who can play a number of different positions at high quality? Now, if you can play one position great, that's fine too. But that happens at the major league level. And then that goes to the second part of your question, is like, what do you try to really, really focus on? It's like, do you just try to really maximize your strengths? And I think that depends on, like, how strong is your strength. If it's elite, you probably can get away with that. But, let's say that your fastball is good, but it's not super, super elite, and maybe you can't really get it really, really elite. It's like, okay, you got to try to bring up the floor of some of the other stuff. So it's just constant give and take, and it takes creativity. It's trying things out, and a lot of coaching is just not being afraid of being wrong, because you're going to be wrong. You're going to suggest things that are not correct. And I think it's appreciated when you say, look, I'm trying this out. We're trying this out, but we may have to pivot. We may have to do something else. And when you're wrong, just facing up and changing.
I absolutely love it. And everything you just said, I believe in times a billion. I kind of want to stay in this youth and amateur thought, because it's very difficult to talk about it at the elite level. But okay, you're an evaluator. You're about to work with a very good high school pitcher, right? Now you have so many things out there now, right? You have arm patterning, you have velo programs, you have movement quality, you have movement patterning, you have ground force, you have all this. Where do you start when you're just watching and evaluating a youngster, an amateur? And I can't wait to hear your answer, because every dude I meet, and I feel like I've met a lot over the last couple of years, it seems like they're all chasing velo. And it's like, bro, where are you at now? And I don't think they understand what that means. Maybe just kind of give your, 10 cents of how you evaluate guys, and then start to program out where they need to go based on who they are. It always goes back to asking that question, but where do you start?
The first question I would ask, like, what do you want to be?
Ooh,
What's your desire?
Nice.
Do you want to be an elite
Beautiful.
major league player, or do you just want to play in college, because that's different?
Mhm.
And that then allows you to have a different conversation, because the preparation to be an elite major league player is different than the preparation to just pitch in college. But then, to your point about like chasing velo, it's like, if you already throw 95 miles per hour, is it really worth chasing even more?
Yeah.
It may not be. But also, it's understanding like how big are you? Are you 6'4", 150 pounds? If that's the case, like, how do you then try to chase the velo? It's not about trying to do throwing programs. It's not about trying to do weighted balls. It's about eating properly, strength and conditioning. So there's a number of different ways to kind of go about that. And let's say you do throw hard, and I think the classic case would be you throw really, really hard, but you don't throw strikes. It's like, okay, well, you need to throw strikes. That is part of the game. But I think a lot of people, because they throw hard, they say to themselves, okay, I throw 98. I'm going to try to get to 99. Because they're good at throwing hard. It makes them feel good. But it's challenging to then try to throw 98 in the strike zone. And you have to get over the fact that you're going to fail. You most likely will not be successful for a period of time. But in a couple months, you may get a little bit better. And then in a couple more months, you may get a little bit better. And I think the last part of it would be really, really important. Getting young players or people to understand, like, this is long-term. You can't think of your development as a year. This is 5 years. This is 10 years. And that's how you have to think about it. There's a sense of urgency to get better, but it's also, you have to try to develop yourself for 10 years. And that comes to the question of, if you want to play in the major leagues and you're 15 years old, you're going to have another 20 to 25 years of playing baseball. Like, you can get a lot better if you focus and are intentional about what you're doing.
I actually have a really good example of that myself. I went to a small Division II college in Denver, and my sophomore year, we had a new pitching coach come in. His name was Ben Buck. He's worked in professional baseball for years now. But what was interesting about that year is that I basically didn't pitch my entire sophomore year, because he asked me the question, do you want to be really good? Because if you want to be really good, we can break this down and basically start over, but it's going to take a while. And so I ended up basically not pitching that year, but it ended up making it so that all of a sudden I went from being a decent college pitcher to all of a sudden now I have the ability to go play professional baseball. And that kind of took off for me. And I think that so much of that is having a good coach who can understand what it is a player needs. And I think that something is that you've brought up so many times already in this conversation is the individuality of coaching, and especially being a pitching coach in the major leagues, where you're dealing with all of these grown men who have been doing this for so long. There's only so many things that you can tweak and change that will make a big difference.
No one destroys a baseball like Oneil Cruz.
That is the hardest hit ball in known Major League history.
Pitchers should consider themselves warned.
And it is gone! There's a Cruz missile!
Log in with your cable provider and stream the Pirates all season long on SNP 360.
Houston is known for being one of the best applicators of analytics in all of baseball among all the teams. It's a reputation that they've built, and I know that you're a big part of that. So I'm curious, when it comes to coming over to Pittsburgh, is that something you're going to be trying to kind of coach into being here, which is the way that you apply the analytics that you get? Everybody gets the same numbers. It's about how you apply them to help pitchers get better. Is there stuff that you learned over in Houston that you plan on bringing over to Pittsburgh?
Yes. to the point that you just made, everybody's looking at the same exact thing. It's about how you're delivering it. And we talked earlier about the building of relationships, like what I'm doing right now, the phone calls, the text messages. That's important because then you can have the opportunity to then deliver that information and have it be heard. It's one thing to deliver it. It's another thing to have it be heard. And I think one of the things that we are going to work as hard as we possibly can on is delivering this information so simply that you can then take it and go do what you need to do with it. It's not about how we're delivering the information and we're feeling really good. We're feeling really smart about how we're delivering it at these complex things and like confusing everybody. Like that's not what it's about. It's about the player actually getting, the pitcher getting the information and being able to use it. Like that is the most important thing. Like that's how I'm judging the success of how I'm coaching. Is if I'm having a conversation with Mitch and I'm explaining something to him, it's like, can he say it back to me? Like, can he verbalize it? Can he understand it? That's important. Because if he walks out and he says, well, I don't really know what he just said, I'm not going to do that. Like that's not helping anybody.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's coaching. It's like what I talked about earlier. What's the problem? How are you going to go about solving it and trying to be as efficient as possible with doing that?
So I'm going to go to the catching side. I think the best pitching coaches have a incredibly unique relationship with the catchers. I was always really close with every pitching coach I ever worked with. And I think it's super important because he's that kind of like mediator in between. How do you go about that? Obviously, you have all these pitchers. You have your assistant pitching coach, which I do want to get to at some point, talk about how cool it is that you're bringing over someone you know. But talk about the catchers and the balance there, because sometimes you don't have that same rapport, right? Especially coming in from a new organization as that catcher does. And Henry was really impressive last year with that. And just talk about that relationship with those guys.
So we've had phone calls with Henry and Joey, and they know the pitchers better than probably the pitchers know themselves. And it's asking, what do you got on this guy? What do you got on this guy? And what do you feel they can execute? How have you gone about having conversations with them in the past? And I think one thing that's really powerful at the major league level is understanding that our players have ownership and they can help out other players. And sometimes it's not the best thing for me to actually deliver a piece of information. It's for Henry or Joey to deliver that piece of information. Like that's more powerful. And I've experienced that in Houston. So again, it's not about like, I don't have to deliver the information. So what's the best way to get through with each individual pitcher and how we're going to go about doing that. But you talked about the catching piece. It's building that relationship, but then also there's a lot of pressure in regards to catching. If you have to game plan a major league lineup, that's tough, especially in today's day and age. And now you're learning all of these pitchers, what they can do, what they can't do. And then the pressure of the game of like, what should I call in this situation? Like, I think the hitter is thinking this, but what should I do? It's like just understanding that they're trying to do the best they possibly can. And if they call a pitch or they do something that, you didn't think was the best, like, so what? Like, it happens. It's part of it. Just try to support them. They're trying to do the best they possibly can. They want to win as much as we want to win. And it's being alongside them, going along the journey with them. Like that's important.
Well, Henry's built like a linebacker, so also if you ever need any like bodyguard or somebody to get a little intimidation in the
we got two guys that you want by your side.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
I'm going to piggyback off of Michael here. Thomas Whitsett, the new assistant pitching coach, also from the Houston organization. He was in AAA with Houston. I'm just so curious how this hiring went after you got hired. to bring a guy over from the organization you were a part of, and why you really wanted him to be a part of this squad with you. Can you kind of just give us some background and your relationship and why you think Thomas Whitsett will be a invaluable piece of this organization?
I will say the decision was incredibly challenging. There are a number of amazing people with the Pittsburgh Pirates already, and pitching coaches who have helped build these pitchers, who we are now like being able to see at the major league level. For me, with Thomas, I was lucky enough to be with him in 2019 and in Houston. He was in Fayetteville my first year as the pitching coordinator, and he's somebody who really does care about the pitchers, and he holds himself to an incredible standard, and he wants to do well. He never wants to put him in a situation where he's not able to help out. And he's somebody who I can really trust to say, look, I need you to do this, and I don't have to worry about that. And there's so many things from a pitching coach perspective at the major league level in terms of setting the rotation and who's available to pitch, the different strategies. I can trust Thomas to do anything, and I don't have to worry about that. And to go along with like his ability to build trust and friendships with our pitchers. And like we've talked about at the beginning, like I'm trying to do that. I feel like Thomas is going to be really good at that as well.
So I'm going to throw a complete hammer right here. Nice, beautiful curveball. Probably thinking more like a, I'm trying to think what type of hammer. A Glasnow hammer.
I probably won't hit it.
Yeah, I definitely won't hit it, so don't feel bad. So have you tried a Permane sandwich? What do you know about the Pittsburgh culture?
Oof.
Let's get into that a little bit. Let's get away from pitching. You're coming to be a Yinzer, man. It took me a while.
Yeah.
I consider myself a Yalzer since I'm from the South. I've embraced Pittsburgh. What do you know about Pittsburgh? What are you excited about? Do we need to help you out, fill you in on where to go to eat with your family? We'll take you. I'm not a big Permane's guy, but I'll support him all day long. I don't like coleslaw. What about you? What are you excited about? Pierogies? Come on.
So I have heard of Permante's. I am excited about, so back being from New Jersey, I really like pizza. Whenever we're at different areas, I try to go and visit all the best pizza places in the world. So I try to do that. I enjoy doing that. That's my favorite food. So I'm excited to try the pizza scene in Pittsburgh. When I was there
Pizza scene
a month or two ago, I went to a place that was rated like an 8.2. I forget exactly the name of it. I want to say it was in Lawrenceville, but very, very solid.
Brick. Oh my gosh, Driftwood. Is that the one you're talking about?
I've tried
That's
Driftwood.
Driftwood's good.
I forget exactly the name of it, but it was a very solid pizza. So I'm excited to try that. The stadium's amazing. Having visited it for 2 years in Houston, incredible. Everybody keeps talking about like the blue collarness of the city and how they get behind you. Like that support is going to be something that we're going to feed off of. We talked about competition. Our pitching staff is going to feed off the competition, but we're also going to feed off the blue collarness of the city. And if we're down, we're going to get right back up. And if we're struggling, like we're going to figure things out, right? We're going to solve that problem. In regards to one other thing is like the summers in that part of the country are fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So one of the negatives of Houston was it was very hot and humid. So I am really looking forward to it. A very nice summer climate.
Dude, you just nailed it.
Just get used to rain. Yeah. Just get
rain
used to
comes.
rain. It will rain. There will be delays. It will happen. That's all right.
But he's got a pitcher's
Hey, I just
ballpark
got
now,
one
Steven.
more. That's true. That's very true. Very different. Don't have to deal with the Crawford boxes anymore. That's nice.
Exactly.
Okay, so I got one more question for you. I'm just curious, as this spring training starts and you guys roll to the first day pitchers and catchers report. You have your big meeting. Just in case anybody doesn't know, this is how this always works. You have a meeting, sits down, and the coaches deliver their messages. I know that you can't say exactly what you would want to say to this pitching staff come the start of spring training, because there is a little bit of, privacy among team there. But I'm just curious, your overarching message to the pitching staff at the start of spring training going into this season.
I think it's very simply, there's expectations, and I'm going to expect a lot out of the pitchers. And I know that the pitchers are going to expect a lot out of themselves. And we are going to hold each other to a very high standard with the goal of playing in October. Simple as that.
I love
nice
it.
and easy.
I have nothing else. I want to end right there, Steven.
Beautiful.
Right there.
Beautiful. Hey, Bill Murphy, Pirates pitching coach. So excited to see you work with these guys and see where this team goes. Sky's the limit, especially with all the new acquisitions and everything. We're very, very excited. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you got a busy schedule trying to get everything ready for the season, but we really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, Bill, and good luck this season coming forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I am extremely excited to be a part of the organization. And like one of the questions was just asked, like learning about Pittsburgh, being a part of Pittsburgh, being a part of the culture, and experiencing in the people, right? The blue collarness. That is going to be fun. And that is something that myself and my family looks forward to being a part of.
Dude, you're going to fit right in. We're excited for you.
So excited. All right. That's going to do it for us here on Bucs Bounty. Please like, subscribe, follow SportsNet Pittsburgh on YouTube. We really appreciate Bill Murphy joining us today, Michael McKenry, Stephen Brault. Thank you guys for coming along for the ride, and we will see you next week on Bucs Bounty.